The story begins not with thunder, nor with war, nor with the rise of kings. It begins with a whisper buried deep within the first pages of Scripture, a whisper that speaks of a man who did not die. His name was Enoch. Genesis, the book of beginnings, records a simple, almost cryptic statement about him. Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, because God took him. That's it. No long biography, no record of battles fought, no tales of mighty kingdoms. Just a man who walked so closely with God that he vanished from the earth. Who was he? What secrets did he know? And why has his story haunted theologians, mystics, and seekers of truth for thousands of years? This is not just a story about a forgotten man. This is about a forbidden book, hidden for centuries, locked away from the eyes of the faithful, carrying within its pages a mystery so dangerous, so unsettling, that the church itself chose to bury it. But every buried truth eventually claws its way back to the surface. Let us return to the time before the flood, when the world was younger, when mankind lived for centuries, and the line between heaven and earth was thin. Among the patriarchs, Adam, Seth, Methuselah, one figure stood apart. Enoch. He was the seventh generation from Adam, a symbolic position in biblical numerology. 7 is the number of divine completion, perfection, and mystery. Was it mere coincidence that the seventh man from Adam would be the one chosen to be taken alive by God? Or was there a hidden plan unfolding? Enoch lived 365 years. That number, too, is peculiar. It is the number of days in a solar year. Was Enoch's life itself meant to represent the cycle of time, a cosmic symbol of God's eternal design? The Bible tells us very little, but ancient traditions whisper more. Jewish writings outside the Bible, fragments of oral traditions passed down, claimed that Enoch was not just a righteous man. He was a prophet, a scribe of heaven, a man who received visions of the secrets of creation, of angels and demons, of the fate of the righteous and the wicked. And somewhere, long ago, those visions were written down. That writing became what we now call the Book of Enoch. But before we touch that forbidden text, let us linger for a moment on the sheer strangeness of the biblical account. Only 2 men in all of Scripture are said to have bypassed death: Enoch and Elijah. One was carried into heaven by chariots of fire. The other simply walked with God and disappeared. The silence around Enoch's life is almost louder than words. The Bible does not tell us how he walked with God. It does not tell us what conversations he had, or why he was taken. It simply declares the fact, and leaves the mystery hanging in the air. And it is precisely that silence which gave rise to centuries of speculation, curiosity, and eventually, the birth of a text that claimed to reveal the hidden truth. But here's the question. Was this text truly the words of Enoch himself, preserved for generations? Or was it the invention of later scribes, seeking to explain what Scripture left unsaid? The answer may not be as simple as we think. Long before the rediscovery of the Book of Enoch, there were echoes of it scattered through history. The earliest Christians knew of it. The Jews of the Second Temple period quoted it. Even the New Testament itself makes reference to Enoch's words. In the Epistle of Jude, verses 14 and 15, we find this startling passage. Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about them. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones to judge everyone, and to convict all the ungodly. This is not found anywhere in Genesis. This is a direct quote from the Book of Enoch, which means that, at the very birth of Christianity, Enoch's writings were known, respected, even authoritative. Early Christians did not consider it a forbidden book. They saw it as truth, and yet, somewhere along the way, it vanished. Why? Why would the church, centuries later, suppress and reject this book? Why would it be cast aside, declared unworthy, while other writings were preserved? The answers are tangled in history, power, and fear. But one thing is certain. What the Book of Enoch contained was too strange, too unsettling, too mysterious to fit neatly into the canon of Scripture. If you're captivated already, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss the next chapters of this forbidden mystery as we unravel the secrets of the Book of Enoch. To understand the power of this story, we must picture the world in which Enoch lived. This was not a world like ours. According to Genesis, men lived nearly 1,000 years. Giants walked the earth. Angels, called the sons of God, descended and mingled with humanity. It was a world filled with wonder, terror, and corruption. A world spiraling toward the great flood of Noah. Enoch lived in that age. He saw the beginnings of that corruption. He saw the descent of the Watchers, angels who abandoned their posts in heaven to indulge in forbidden union with human women, producing monstrous offspring known as the Nephilim. The Bible itself briefly mentions this strange episode in Genesis 6. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, but the Book of Enoch expands it into a tale of cosmic rebellion, of forbidden knowledge, of angels teaching mankind secrets not meant for mortals, sorcery, astrology, weapon-making, even cosmetics, all tools that led humanity into corruption. Enoch, the righteous man, stood as a witness to this rebellion. He was caught between heaven and earth, between angels and men, between obedience and corruption. And in the midst of it all, God gave him visions. Visions of heaven's glory, visions of the fate of the fallen angels, visions of the coming judgment, visions so terrifying, so majestic, that they would be passed down in a forbidden book, one that some would venerate as holy, and others would condemn as dangerous. But here is the irony. The Bible itself does not give us these visions. It gives us silence. Why? Was it because the details were too much for ordinary believers to handle? Or because the stories of angels and giants sounded too much like pagan myths? The silence of Genesis opens a void, and into that void, the Book of Enoch steps. And so the legend of Enoch grew. To some, he was the man who walked with God. To others, he was the first great prophet. To still others, he was a scribe of heaven, recording mysteries that even angels longed to understand. The Jews of the Second Temple period, between the return from Babylon and the coming of Christ, treasured his story. They copied and preserved the Book of Enoch. They studied it alongside Isaiah, Daniel, and the Psalms. For them, Enoch was not a forgotten footnote. He was a central figure in the story of God's dealings with man. But history would not be kind to his book. The Book of Enoch did not stay in the light forever. In time, the church would banish it. Councils would declare it heresy. Scrolls would be destroyed. Centuries would pass without a trace. And yet, in one faraway land, it survived, guarded in silence until the appointed time of rediscovery. But that is a story for the next episode. Because before we can understand why the Book of Enoch was banned, we must first open its pages and confront the shocking, otherworldly stories it contains. Stories of angels who sinned. Stories of giants who devoured the earth. Stories of visions so vivid they blur the line between heaven and hell. And above all, prophecies of a Messiah, spoken long before the coming of Christ. The question is, were these words truly Enoch's? Or were they planted by men with an agenda? In Episode 2, we will step directly into the pages of this forbidden text. Prepare yourself, for what lies inside is stranger than anything you have heard before. If this mystery has stirred your curiosity, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment below. What do you think happened to Enoch? Why did God take him? Share your thoughts because your voice is part of this journey. And don't miss Episode 2, where the Book of Enoch finally opens its pages.